All right, so I want to welcome everybody to another SLG Azure Fridays event. My name is Mike Hacker, and got a couple quick things I want to run through real quick. Some upcoming events that we have. On November 3rd, we have a partner that's going to be presenting some information on Service Fabric and kind of an overview and demonstration of some capabilities in Service Fabric called To Monolith or to Microservice, Journey with Service Fabric. And then we're going to have on November 10th, Steve Reed from our team is going to be presenting on what is my cost to move to the cloud. And in that presentation, he's going to be talking about a tool specifically to help you look at your environment, identify the servers that you have running in your environment, and kind of get an idea of what would it look like to move those to the cloud. What kind of costs could you expect? And also, what servers make the most sense to move to the cloud first? And which ones you might want to hold off on because they might be more complicated to do. On November 17th, we're going to do a cognitive services demonstration. Right now, we're teeing it up for something called a boring beetle demo, which is basically using computer vision to help identify beetles that are actually destroying trees. And so kind of a self-reporting capability to be able to take a picture with a phone and then help it identify the type of beetle and then report if it's a species, of course, that's causing damage to the environment. Just like this event, all of them start at 1:30 Eastern Time. The website that you registered for this one is the same website we would like you to register for all of the future events. And, of course, all of our recordings are available out on YouTube in the Microsoft and Government channel. We have a specific playlist for SLG Azure Fridays. So if you go to that AKAMS/SLG Azure Fridays, you'll get to all of our videos. So what I'm going to do now is I want to turn it over to Brant Jones. Brant is one of my counterparts here in state and local government, and I want him to kind of give a little overview real quick about what these Azure community events are, and then he will go ahead and introduce our guest. So Brant?
Great. Thanks, Mike. So hi, everybody. My name is Brant Jones. I'm a cloud architect with Microsoft for state and local government here in the Southwest. This year, Microsoft's taking a little bit different approach to customer success. We've always been invested with the success of our customers, but this forum here is an opportunity for our customers to share with other customers about how they're using Microsoft within their lines of business to be successful and drive initiatives within their respective organizations, and provide a forum for customers to ask questions of other customers or spark different ideas about how they could potentially use Microsoft platform to enable success within their own organizations. Today we're going to be focusing on kind of the theme around application development and moving towards a more agile platform away from traditional monolithic approaches to application development, application lifecycle management, and how one of our customers in Las Vegas has been successful in kind of moving towards that direction, some of the challenges they've had around that, and then provide a forum for you to kind of ask questions around that topic today. So I've got Will Wang, IT supervisor from the Las Vegas Valley Water District on the phone as well, and his counterpart Chris. They will be presenting today, and I want to thank them both for taking the time on a day that is a holiday there in Nevada to present to the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Will to present. Thanks, Will.
All right, thanks. Morning, everyone. Good afternoon for the East Coast people. Hi, my name is Will Wang. I'm an IT supervisor in the Las Vegas Valley Water District. Oh, by the way, weather is beautiful, 70 degrees here and sunny. I've been in IT with the Water District for about 11 years, and we've done quite a bit of fun stuff together with everyone here. I do .NET, I did Cohesion, Oracle, and all that junk. Now I'm really focusing on Agile, Scrum, and Visual Studio Team Services, and Azure.
And my name's Chris Hagood, and I am also supervisor here at the Water District. I've been with the organization for about 15 years. My history really started back with web front-end work, and in the past 10 years or so, it's been a big focus on Oracle and middle tier. So it's, I've kind of got the whole spectrum of development from front-end to the back-end.
Chris does everything.
So I thought we're not going to do a lot of slides on this, but I thought that we would start with a little history of our organization. The Southern Nevada Water Authority is a nonprofit agency created in 1991, and its mission is to provide a safe and reliable water supply to Southern Nevada. The Las Vegas Valley Water District is Nevada's largest public water utility, and we supply water to over 600,000 homes and businesses. The difference between the two organizations is SNWA is responsible for getting water from the environment and treating it and then delivering it to the water resellers. And the Water District is one of those water resellers here in the valley, and they take the water and deliver it to the people.
Right, so we are employees for both.
Yeah, we are, and LVVWD is contracted to run SNWA. So both SNWA and LVVWD kind of encompass water supply planning, conservation, water quality, infrastructure, and stewardship. And IT is responsible for building tools that assist in helping the business deliver water to the people. And kind of just an impressive number is SNWA meets water demands for about 2 million residents in Southern Nevada and 40 million annual visitors. I suspect that we're different than some other water utilities given the large number of visitors that like to come visit us and drink our water.
Right, and in case you guys are curious, on the upper right we have two logos. The third logo is the Springs Preserve. We have restaurants, a beautiful museum. The State Museum is also there. It's pretty cool.
It's geared towards community outreach and education on water. So, as you know, Las Vegas is a desert, and teaching people about water and specifically water conservation is very important to the organization.
All right, a little bit of background of IT. So originally, both Chris and I came out of rogue IT departments, outside of IT department, and we all join IT now. So the background is that in application development and operations, they are two distinct silos. So software guys, we stay in one silo. The operations guys stay in one silo. And within those silos, actually, additional individual silos within their own area expertise as well. So in those areas, we have clear separations of responsibility. And then we have complex workflow process between two sides. Anything we do, there will have to be meetings, there will have to be emails, workflow that has to sign, paperwork has to be dotted. It can get pretty complicated sometimes, even for the simplest work. And also, we have different physical locations for some teams. For example, Chris actually works at the downtown building, and I'm in the Valley View building. So there's actually quite distance going on, so meetings sometimes can take some time.
Yeah, and specifically for my team, there are a couple of our development teams that are located at a different location than ops. It just it traditionally made the coordination between development and ops and getting software from our development boxes into production a real challenge.
Yep. So I don't know about you guys, we used to do Waterfall. So this picture cartoon that we have seen in the past, I don't know how many years, it's pretty true representative of what we did in the past in one aspect or another. A customer come talk to us, we do a long analysis work, right? And we say, hey, we'll get back to you. We'll do some designs, maybe we'll talk to the customers, then we'll start hacking away, then deadline is approaching, let's quickly do some QA and present to the customer. Hey, we did it, thank you, goodbye, see you next year. But there's also projects, we do some cowboy programming. There's no formal documentation or process, we just say, okay, we know what you want. Let me just type some stuff up and pretend that we know exactly which database you need, and let me just hook it up for you, and there you go.
And Cowboy Programming is, a lot of times, traditionally, not anymore, is, it would be if there's a problem, you go deal with it where the customer is having the problem in production. And when you do that, then the changes that you made that got it working never make it back into your code base. So the next time you do a deployment, you redeploy the same bug repeatedly.
So you do it in production first?
Well, not anymore.
Right. We shall call that reverse waterfall.
And also, if a server's not working, from the ops side, it's you go and you deal with the server, and you don't necessarily, as you're trying to fix a problem, you don't document what you did, and you end up with having servers that are drifting apart, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But it's once you've made changes on the fly, trying to react to something, if you're not very diligent about making sure that those changes are documented and taken back down to other environments, it's, the cowboy way is not sustainable.
You get to wear a cool cowboy hat, though. All right, so all these things cause all kinds of deployment challenges. One of them is the manual process. What that means is when we do deployments, the development side have to write a very comprehensive Word documentation, like many pages of it with screenshots and whatnot, and we send it to the ops site to say, hey man, deploy it for us. Now, because it's a Word document, there are rooms for error. The development side, we may make a mistake on a typo. We may skip a couple steps because we forgot about it. We did some configs in dev and we forgot to put it on the document. And on the ops side, because it's multi-page documents and people can make mistakes, they have a typo on the password or they forgot to put a slash on the URL and things can happen. And we also have server configuration drift. So dev, QA, prod servers, they are all configured a little bit differently. The driver version may be a little bit off. There may be some patch differences and some permissions. Some developers got into the dev server and did some changes in permissions. They forgot to put it on the document. Now QA and prod don't work. So there's also standards that's different. What I mean by that is we have group of developers and group of admins that deploys, right? So some people can write a document a bit too detailed. Others require detailed documents. Some people will return the document and say, I reject this because it doesn't have enough screenshots. I don't know if I should click OK or cancel on the next step. Some programmers will give too much details and it kind of confuses the app admins as well. And as you can see, it can get very labor intensive. On some of these larger deployments, you can basically kiss your weekend goodbye. And we have 3-day weekends. All 3 days, the developers and admins will sit together and trying to deploy a major app.
And sysadmins.
Oh yeah, sysadmins, network admins, DBAs. Boy, we don't like those kind of things. And tracking is kind of painful. There are situations, something goes live and another thing breaks. And the first thing the admins will say, all right, who did what to this server in the past 24 hours, right? People have to say, hey, did anybody network did something, database? Hey, software guys, what did you guys push? How many apps got pushed that day?
And hope that nobody's out of town that made the change.
Or hope that they've remembered everything. And so what that does is it gives us a lot of anxieties on all sides. We actually feared the deployment back then. They don't want to deploy, so they want to do as little deployment as possible. So what happens is they will wait for 6 months worth of work, a year worth of work, then they go live with it. But guess what? A year worth of code deployment, it means hundreds of pages of deployment documents sometimes. It sucks. And we have some crazy phrases like, hey man, you worked in dev, I don't know why you didn't work in production. Or some people will say, I don't get it, it worked yesterday.
And Will's talking about the dev and the ops side of just the building the code and deploying it. But with that team anxiety and the infrequent releases of software, What we don't really talk about here, but it is a factor, is the customers are not getting great service. They only get new code, every 6 months or a year, and then you have the opportunity of the system being down with everything manual. You take the system down, maybe it takes a week to recover. It's not, you're not serving the customers well in that situation.
We have incredible patient customers.
Yeah, we are fortunate there.
So what happens after deployment? We have to start managing and tracking issues, right? And those are not easy. So that's when we started doing things like, hey, who did what to the server in the past 24 hours, right? And we hear many things back and say, hey, we didn't do nothing, man. And then, yeah, there are clearly changes that's been done. We can't track any of those, right? So network has changed. We don't know who did that. Permissions got changed. We don't know who did that neither. And let's say that the deployment failed. Rollback is a very difficult process. Since everything is manual, it has to have we have to have a complete documentation on how to revert those changes, right? But sometimes it's not possible. And not only that, because we have 6 months to a year worth of work, how do you roll something that large back? And also, once we go live, we always have a little problems here and there. Well, we have debugging issues. The developers doesn't have access to production and don't really know what was done during the manual deployment process sometimes.
And the environments are different, so production is the only place in that scenario that you can debug, which is a challenge.
Right, so then they get together, trying to hack it out. They pull the heroics, now it's running, but we don't know what they did. It was like, hey, let's get it live first, let's figure something out later. Now nothing is documented. So we don't know what we have to do to make sure the QA and dev environment is going to be aligned. The drift continues.
All right, so Will now has painted a very bleak picture of where we started.
So sad.
And coming out of this, it was not a mystery to anybody that we needed to make a change. We needed to work more efficiently and effectively, and we wanted to find ways to provide more value to our customers. So we realized it was time for a transformation.
And we have our management behind us.
Yeah, that was huge. It was the support of management made this possible. So what did we do? We sent team members to conferences. People did research on how best to solve these problems, and there was a lot of discussion. And what we ended up with was Agile was chosen as the project paradigm, and TFS and VSTS were selected as the tools that we were going to use.
Right. We started with TFS and we migrated to VSTS in Azure.
So the development side is Agile with the Scrum framework, and the ops side is Agile with Kanban. So we had identified a methodology that we wanted to use. We had identified some tools that were going to help us make that change. And the biggest challenge was the cultural change. How do we remove the silos and how do we remove the Brent?
Right.
And we have a book up here, the Phoenix Project. If you haven't read it, it's one that I think helped all of us through the process. And
best fiction ever.
Yeah, it is fiction, but as you read the book, at least for me, every time I got to a page, I'm like, oh no, I'm that guy. I'm a Brent.
Right.
And in the book, Brent is the go-to guy who can fix any problem. And the problem with that is then he becomes the only guy who can fix a problem. We had a slide a couple of back that said Cowboy Programming. Brent in the book and kind of just in life, it's a single point of failure, and he becomes the only person that knows that the way that everything works together. And because he has to be a part of every project to make it a success, he also becomes a huge bottleneck for the organization. So we wanted to make a cultural change of transparency, openness, automation, removing of silos, and removing single points of failure.
Yep.
So now let's talk about some VSTS specific things. We started with a code repository that's accessible to all of IT. In the past, different teams had different repositories, DSS, different source control. We wanted one central location that all of IT, whether it's ops or dev, had access to the code. This also increased code sharing and peer review.
Logging, history, branching, merging, code reviews, all that, pull requests.
Yeah. That was a big step for us. Continuous integration and deployment, breaking away from the one release every 6 months to a year. It was when you check your code in, do a build, do a release, and get it moving through the pipeline so that we can deliver those changes to the customer. We were using NuGet package repository. This is a great step forward in making sure that our standard code was consistent, that libraries were easily updated across all of our applications. And we even took the NuGet concept another step forward, and we created our own internal NuGet repository to facilitate sharing code that was needed by others. So if you're working on a team and you've written something that others use, it's no more copy and paste this code into your project and we've created a NuGet package. You can include it and deploy that with your application and make code maintenance and update.
Totally, that is huge. The fact that we don't have to have copy-paste code everywhere, and that when we need to do an update to a next version of .NET or we have to change for security reasons, it's in one place. We can get it, and we can version it, and it's all in the Azure cloud. We don't have to worry about, hey man, where did that DLL go? I don't know.
It's code reuse is, at least for me, has always been, the holy grail of application and development. And the new internal NuGet package repository has taken a giant leap forward in getting there. We also have a wiki. Before we started our transformation, our teams were pretty good about documentation. The problem is that everybody had a different method of storing it, and where they stored it, who could see it, and nobody knew where to go. So we created a centralized wiki for documentation, guides, and help in this centralized spot, so that much like our code repository is available to everybody, so is the wiki. Everybody knows that if they have a question, this is a good first place to look. Everybody has access to modify it, and everybody can see it. It's a great way for us to share information across teams. And then lastly, we're using the Scrum template.
So the Scrum template is built into TFS and VSTS. They typically have 3 different templates, the Agile, Scrum, and the Microsoft specific one. We use the Scrum template, but between Scrum and Agile template, they're very similar. We prefer the Scrum. For the Kanban groups, we still use VSTS, and what they do is they modify the board to make it more flow much better for the Kanban on the ops side.
All right, so we've talked about general VSTS. Now let's go into a little more detail and talk about build. What we have here is a screenshot of one of the builds for one of our projects. And the great thing about this is we're automating the build process. It's not manual copy files to the dev server and see if it works. We actually build a release package that is going to be released to the various environments. In here you can see the history of each of the builds. You can drill into any of these and see what code was a part of it. You can see when it happened and who did it. On our screen here, I don't know if you can see it, but we have a couple different names associated with various builds. And I want to stress that the build process isn't a manager isn't responsible to be done by management. This is everybody on the Scrum team has a responsibility to be able to build and release their code.
Right. This is important because we don't want to hear developers say, it compiled on my machine. We don't care. It has to be compiled on our build boxes.
Yeah, and then again, you're also preventing that single point of failure that we've talked about before. Everybody knows how to do it, and everybody is responsible for doing this at the team level.
This is when certain DLLs they haven't installed on their PCs, but not on servers in Surface. And now we know that we got to package that into a new game, put it in the cloud.
So going into, what we showed on the previous slide was, here's a build and the history. If you take a look into the details of a specific instance of that build, you can see all the steps that we went through for that. Unit tests are executed and code coverage is measured during our builds. Code quality is also measured in each build.
Right, we use SonarQube.
And the way that we've implemented things is we have a regular build. That's when you check in your code, it gets built. We also have nightly builds that happen on a schedule that have an extra task of doing security scans. That takes a little bit longer to run, so we set those up to run every night, but the next day, the development team has access to their latest security scans, and they know if there's a problem early on, instead of getting all the way to the end of a development cycle, running a security scan and realizing they have 1,500 things that they have to address.
Right, and that product is called HP Fortify, and it checks for everything from C# to Java to JavaScript, HTMLs, SQL statements, and Confusion. It can even do COBOL, but we have to buy an additional plugin.
So that's our build. You've built your code, you've checked your code in, you've done a build, you have an artifact, it's ready to go. The next side of this is releases and deployment. And what we're showing here is a screenshot of really all of the releases for all of our projects. Again, this is viewable to everybody in IT. It is transparent to everybody that could possibly be involved in this project, in this process. They can see the status of these things. We have some multicolored boxes down the page here. Those are, each of the little boxes represent one of our environments. Different types of projects have a different number of environments. And color coding, green, as you might assume, is good. Blue's in progress, red's bad, and the grays we haven't really gotten to yet. If you can see the release numbers next to these, we have some projects that are well over 100 releases so far, and that's, I think that's impressive. One of the surprising challenges as our whole department has started to adopt this is it's hard to keep it all organized. What you can't see here is you can scroll and scroll and scroll for days through all of the projects and the releases. One of the things that might be a nice feature, I don't know if anybody on the call can make it happen, is
Microsoft.
Yeah, maybe some folders that would assist with organizing. So that was one of the surprising things to us, was as we started to use this, how quickly it became evident that we needed better ways to organize.
Yeah, it really caught on fast. We have so much stuff now.
All right, so the last screen was kind of a look at everything. This is an example of one release pipeline for a project. As I mentioned before, we have, we kind of have boxes that represent the different environments. Each environment in the pipeline can have both pre and post approvers. Approvers can be one or many people. And also the approvals can require just one of a group of people, or it could be that it requires all of the people that are on the approval list. We've also included important steps for our organization that aren't automated. The second box here, security review. While we do have automated security reviews as part of our builds, we still have other developers that will review their peers' code and look for things that weren't caught by the automated review. And it's a manual process, but we want to represent it in our pipeline here so that we make sure that that step happens and that it's documented.
Right.
And we hope to make that more automated in the future. But the nice thing here, and the thing to take note, is your release pipeline can be a series of completely automated things as well as manual processes. And each step in the way, you can stop it and have people involved. You can also time a release that once you've gotten through everything, the production release happens on a schedule. Maybe it happens at 2 in the morning. Another manual process we have on here is the ITAD application inventory. That's our internal inventory of all of our applications. So as we're going through a release, it's up to the supervisors to go back and make sure that we've properly documented the changes to each of the applications. Yep. I'd also want to mention that only certain staff have privileges to promote releases through the pipeline. Developers can release to development. They can send it off to security review. It's the supervisor's responsibility to document that the security review happened. Our app admin team is responsible for pushing things to our sys-test, which is our QA server. Supervisors are the application inventory gatekeepers. And lastly, our ops team is who makes the call for the release to actually go into production. The thing you want to take note of here is this isn't the developers finished their code and kicked it over the fence into the ops side. Everybody is involved in the release pipeline. Everybody can see the status of it, and there's no mystery as to where something is.
Yes, full transparency and break down silos. And if you can see here, if you guys remember those gray boxes and the green boxes, each one of these is represented by one of those boxes. And also you can see there's 9 tasks going out for deployment. So in development, we may be pushing to 2 servers or 8 servers. It's all taken care of by one of those tasks.
Yeah. So this is a very straightforward release pipeline. This is a less straightforward release pipeline.
Yeah, this is particularly for Oracle CC&D products. It requires a pretty extensive database push, Java push, and also COBOL push all at the same time. And we have several servers up and running. For the time being, we're not doing a parallel pushes. We're doing one box at a time, so it looks pretty crazy. It has one pipeline going straight through, and then once it gets to here, it has about 12 to 16 lines, I don't quite recall, going to all different places to handle all those work. Although there's only one task, for now, for the sake of stability, we're doing one at a time. Eventually, once things are more solid, we can add some network switching tasks into this. We may be doing 2 particular pushes to 6 to 8 servers at a time.
All right. So we talked about the builds, and we showed you the release and the release pipeline. Once a deployment has happened for any given project, you can always go back and see the history. The drum that I'm going to keep beating here is that, again, this is accessible to everybody in IT, development, ops, sysadmins, managers. Everybody can go in and see what happened. You can see the status of the various deployments, who was the person that created that one, sent it through. You can dig in and see the build. You can see the results of the code quality, the results of the security, and which environments did it make it out to. Transparency, and you have all the historical information about what happened, when, and who was involved.
Right, this is really cool. Not only do you have the history and the logging of the code changes, you have the history and logging of the builds and releases. And the builds themselves, they have their own configuration. Releases have their own configuration. Every single one of those changes, we know who did it and for what purpose at what time.
And I would say one of the really nice things about this tool in VSTS is that it does a great job of capturing a lot of very, very detailed information, but it organizes it in such a way that it can be meaningfully viewed. If there's a problem and you start to look into something, you can navigate to what you need to see without being overwhelmed with 80 pages in a spreadsheet calling out all the specific minute changes that happen.
Right.
So it's a really nice feature of this tool that you have access to the history of what happened.
And also, if I want to watch a project closely, I can create a dashboard for all the releases, so I can put it on my dashboard and take a look at it every time I come to SGS.
So going back, we showed our pipeline and we had the different environments. Will mentioned also that some of those environments, they had tasks in them. This is just a screenshot of our task list. Tasks are a combination of downloads from the marketplace and also tasks and scripts that were written in-house. If there wasn't something in the marketplace that needed to run a script on one of the servers, that was taken on in-house, and we created our own PowerShell scripts and put it in the task list so that everybody else could use it. Yep. Some teams use a feature that I would encourage everybody to look into that's going to be doing releases called task groups. If, as an example, if you have to change configuration variables in your web config and you have 8 variables across multiple servers, it can become a little cumbersome if each variable change on each server is a task. You create a task group and you set it up once and you can reuse that across all of your environments pretty easy.
Right, we have custom built hundreds of apps, and all those apps are very similar, so we task group, we can reduce a lot of manual work to configure all this. So it's very powerful.
The other thing that we did as we were trying to bring everybody into using these tools and these methods was we created standard templates of the different environments and the types of releases. So, you know, if you have a .NET release to one of our standard servers, you can go grab the template that's used for that. Our more complex templates, if you're doing a SQL deployment, they all have basic templates. The nice thing is, as all the teams use those templates, that if you need to make a change to how your organization does releases, you can make a change to the template, and the next time that a release is going to come through, then your change to the process is automatically adopted into the next release. Okay, so we set all of this up. We had some teams that were using it and testing it and making sure that we had a good format for everybody to use. And at the beginning of the year, as an organization, we made a New Year's resolution that everybody was going to use automated build and release. So it's really the beginning of this year that marks the big change for our organization. And just some interesting numbers. We have anywhere between 10 and 40 automated deployments in any environment per day. We have about 10 automated production deployments per week, as opposed to 1 every 6 months in some cases. We have 199 automated releases created for applications as of the beginning of this month, and we've had over 4,000 total deployments as of the beginning of this month.
Yep, all those number has increased.
Yeah, and if you look at the history of as it was adopted, the trend is moving up more rapidly every day. So now we've talked about the tools, we talked about our philosophy. Let's go back and just recap some of the main points of the transition. We have more efficient uses of resources. Deployments rarely take all weekend. You know, no more kissing the weekend goodbye or spending the entire week following a deployment. Because we've automated the process, it happens faster and it happens consistently. And that goes to better accuracy. We've minimized the points where mistakes can be made, and we lessen incidents after deployment because nobody misses a step. Nobody forgets to copy a file, make a configuration change. If it's all automated and scripted out, it happens the same way over and over again. We have improved communications, the breakdown of silos, the transparency that everybody can see, the things that other groups are doing. And one of the cool things about that is not only has communication just gotten better, but everybody involved is actively looking for ways to improve communication even more. We have better service to our customers. We have a problem, we can roll back, because you can always just go back to the previous release and build that worked and put that back out on the production server if you find a big problem in yours. And that goes towards positive feedback too. Our customers see more frequent changes. We're releasing software to them faster, and they've noticed, and they are starting to come to us with even more requests. IT is no longer a group that everybody has to go through. It's a group they want to work with to make changes that are going to impact the business.
Yeah, we love.
Yeah, and that speaks to the culture change. Is IT is a partner with the business, and inside of IT, we've taken away the anxiety of deployment, the culture clashes between dev and ops. And it's not that we had big culture clashes, but we had challenges because of the silos in the environment we were in. Culturally, IT is a much more open department, and we're making more frequent changes and providing better service to our customers and to our business. And it's been a big change for us over the past year.
Yeah, a good example is just recently we went live with a product that's like an HR related product with the third company. It's a cloud solution, and it requires about 18 integration applications to be deployed over the weekend, and it's like a 10-month project. And people came in, we just pushed the release button to production, everything looks good, and people went home. It was in and out in a couple hours. It was completely painless. And we decommissioned about 5 applications. It was really, really good.
Yeah, it was a big change from years past.
Yep. Okay, demo time. We're going to make it really quick and short. And all right, here it is. Let's go to one of the teams. Where are we? Go to the team. Build and releases. Builds. So for a second there, you guys saw the dashboards, and we have these folder definitions of all of our builds. Pretty cool.
So the builds have folders. What we would like is to see that for releases as well.
Oh, this one's empty. Pull up one. So you can see all the different builds. Okay, let's go to releases. Let's pick a release. How's everybody doing today? Let's take a look at all the releases.
Never do a live demo.
Okay, Azure, give me some data. You're loading, so I'm gonna just try a different tab. Okay, packages. Oh, I guess we can talk about packages. These are the packages we put in NuGet. They're all ours. We have stuff on the NuGet.org as well. And task group is what Chris is talking about. And anything? Hey, there are the releases. So you can see we got some nightly builds that's happening here. And some of these things only goes to development for now because it's not ready for production. And over here, data.
We're apparently having some technical difficulties with the tool.
It's Friday, it's a day off, it's a holiday for us. Maybe it doesn't want to work today. Okay, well, at least you can see this screen, the real life stuff here. Doesn't want to scroll. I guess we're back to our presentation. That was a quick demo, huh?
Hey, Will, this is Mike Hacker. We've got a question. They were wondering what add-on or plugin is giving you that packages tab for your packages that you showed there.
The packages? Let me tap to the IE real quick. This one? I believe it's built in. It may not be there in VSTS, but it's definitely there in the, I'm sorry, it may not be there in TFS, but it's definitely there for the VSTS. We've been using it for over a year now. I don't believe it's a new feature because it doesn't have the the asterisk yet. Those are like the beta features. This one is definitely already there on VSTS. So not sure.
Okay. Yeah, and we can always follow up to Brendan on those items.
Okay. All right, demo's over. So, looking forward, what are we doing next? So we are continuing with our agile transformation. So one thing we have realized as we break down silos, we are working together more. People are doing more interactions. We have to be able to manage that. So we're moving on to the next step of agile. We're starting to implement scale agile framework. And about 3 months ago, when we start looking into this, Microsoft released a documentation on showing us how to do that in VSTS, how to hook it up digitally. And we have since implemented that. The teams are slowly migrating to the SAFe system.
Yeah, my team made the transition yesterday, actually.
Woohoo! All right, and we want to focus more and more on test-driven development and behavior-driven development. For now, we are really focusing on the TDD side. You saw one of the building screenshots that it has automated code coverage. What we really, really want to do is have 70% to 100% code coverage on the business logic level. That's very important to us. What that does is that anytime we do changes, since we're going to do weekly deployments, there's a lot of changes going on. Small, but a lot of changes. We want to make sure one change doesn't break other things. So automated testing is very important to us, and it's built into our build. We are bringing a lot of experts come to our shop to train the developers on that, to focus more on let's write the test code, then write the actual code. And also, let's move all the business logic into the business logic layer, not in the data access layer, not in the front-end layer. Everything must go into the one big fat business logic area so we can test it repeatedly, automatically at night. So we don't have to spend a lot of time doing manual testing. But manual testing is still there.
And you can test during the day, too. Will said at night. It doesn't have to only.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Because the robots are doing it, not us, so it's easier. Security is part of our culture now. So we want to focus on DevSecOps as well. We are a company that has PCI data. We also have PII data. We have to be in compliance to all those things. We have manual security peer code reviews, but we want to automate, make things faster. So it's all happening.
Faster and more secure is the goal.
Yep. More frequent releases. That's important to us. Instead of giving a big chunk of value to the customers, we want to frequently give them value every week, if not on daily basis. I know we're not going to be like Amazon to be able to do a deployment every 7 seconds, but if we can give value to our customer in a more frequent basis, it benefits everybody. Tools. Automated testing. We kind of mentioned that we have automated unit tests built into Visual Studio and utilize VSTS, but we want to do more. I want to do automated UI testing. I want to do load testing automated and all that stuff. And that's where the Azure Cloud features will come in. We are a government entity, so we have Azure Government Cloud. We also have the commercial cloud as well for VSTS, but we want to put more stuff into the Azure Government Cloud, start utilizing a lot of their features there more. More ops automations for DevOps. On the dev side, we did really good on the pushes, but notice on our pipeline doesn't have anything that says, hey, stand up a server, or build a Docker container, or let's set up the networking and all that stuff. Let's do the load balancing already. None of those are automated, so we want to work with the ops side continuously to increase the depth of the pipeline. We want that pipeline to be very easy and comprehensive. The team can say, okay, I need it for a development server. We're going to create 3 of them, and we're going to install these things. Click a button, it gets approved, everything's done. And then we stand up, let's say, a 5,000 customer PCs to test out the load, to load it up, see how well it handles it, and then we shut it down. And next time we do a test, we'll turn it back on 2 hours later again. We want to get there eventually. application release automation. We found that the STS is an incredibly helpful tool. We use it a lot, but we need a little bit better orchestration that sits on top of that to help the ops side. So we are currently looking for ARA tools that help us move further along in the DevOps world. Boy, that's it. Yeah. Questions?
That was awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Brant, are you still with us? See if Brant's still there. Just to see if he had any additional thoughts.
No, I agree, Mike. This was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Will and Chris, for taking the time today and presenting. I think this journey has been amazing from my perspective as a developer for 20 years, and it's encouraging to see, organizations moving in that direction and how they could be successful. So thank you both for taking the time to share your journey with the rest of our customers that joined today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Now, we do have just a couple minutes left. If there's anybody that has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask the questions, or if you want to type them in the window here. We do have a couple minutes. I'll give you just a little bit of time here. Nobody? Brendan's the only one? All righty. Well, then I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Once again, thanks so much for the presentation, Will and Chris. And, we have these events every Friday, 1:30 Eastern time, different topics. Our next community, so we were going to do community calls every fourth event. Unfortunately, the next one lines up right with the holidays, so we're going to have to skip that community event. But we'll be having additional community events in the future. So if you're interested in presenting something that you're working on, and similar to what Will and Chris did today, get a hold of us. My email address is just mhacker@microsoft.com, so mhacker@microsoft.com. Feel free to reach out to me. And also, if you have any suggestions for future topics, definitely reach out to us. So once again, thanks a lot, guys, and have a great afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.